on a totally different mental and emotional tract. While the many seek to find ways to manage the extreme contingencies inherent within this social system, I'm looking at a perception whose paradigms are based away from materially dependent systems and more towards mental energy systems. The tangible, natural resources are just the starter ignition for the affecting biochemicals to do their interaction with the body's anatomy for the body's optimal performance. At the post-catalyzed level of ignited initiation, the body's radiating signals become part of a resonating network of symbiotic and synergistic affecting signals. In this mode, the need for the kinetic capabilities of the body beyond its tuned-in-toned operation, which functions as the logistical power plant for the mental and emotional functions, is secondarily and incidentally subliminal in importance, noticeable only in its dysfunction in support of the operations of the intellect and its derived emotions. The intellect and its derived emotions are the procreator for our essential needs of vitality. That vitality is both an objective capability, as well as a subjective sense of oneself. It's in the vitality that is the offshoot of cosmos' original origins in the so-called Big Bang escape from the overpressurized black hole of its gestational womb. Within that vitality are modes of energy levels that facilitate the jumps from one level to another and a mental access to other levels, giving a holographic effect on our cognitive facilities, equivalent to wormhole shortcutting transporters. That interaction transports us to multi-chrono-dimensional, virtual, visceral experiences with other literally real beings. For that reason, we have within our own powers of data aggregation and interpretive connection, the potential to be effectual and nullify the sensations of resentful impotency on things beyond our immediate, kinetic dominion. We, within the precipitated emotional passions of our comprehension, can use that emotional energy as the mental ignition to cognitive options derived in the amalgam of the emotional products of our intellect. What might be a common experience for you readers is your dreams. Even though quite a number of dreams seem to be unrelated, sui generis manifestations that have little to no relation to your own mundane condition or experience beyond your own natural reaction, the characters and the signals they impart to you in the dream provide an impressionable data set for possible new perspectives of thought for you. In one dream I was at a gathering at a hotel pool. I was stretched out in a lawn chair, when a valet came and handed me a phone, saying to me that I had a call. I picked it up and after saying, "Hello," the person on the other end said, "Hello, Mr. Harper, we've been expecting to hear from you." At first, I didn't recognize the voice, but as the conversation continued, the voice sounded very familiar to a friend, who died over a decade ago. The manner and tone of the greeting was very similar to that deceased person. If so, his opening greeting to me was a reminder to me of my connectedness to those who came and went before me onto other transmortal dimensions. Even more than just the possible, transmortal connections, there were those dreams that provide the implication of parallel, concurrent dimensions with their virtual, visceral interactions of sensations. In those dreams, time settings can be past or future, as well as present. With whom and with what I interact and experience would be the de facto host and contextual interlocutors for me, having orientation for the setting when the locale had no emotional or intellectual connection to my past or present. All those different forms have formed a cohesive narrative for the juxtaposition of my self-identification of my own ethos and aspirations over the decades. That narrative and its inclusive, derived and developed talents of my mind give a focus for those imperatives of circumstance for which I have an effectual role for tangible and intangible good or bad. In the successful or negligent fulfillment of those roles, I have an opportunity to tangibly or intangibly affect that which is organically beyond the proximity of the aesthetics of my will in the flow of time. These are based on my ethics and applying them to whatever form the public narrative manifested. At times, I was in sync with them. At other times I was in an adverse contention with the popular narrative. It was adverse when those whose job it was to execute the legal, ethical, and moral imperatives of their levers of effectuality were not, in my estimation, doing any of those three aspects. Since I didn't have the legal, by the laws of the legislators, to take any kinetic action against those, though not necessarily restrained in doing civil disobedience to the conditions as they might affect my domain of operation. It was a contingency of restricted kinetic acts to those conditions in proximal relevance to me, but not a universal, restrictive application on any others. Their agency for ethical or moral, if not legal action, is based on their proximal relevance to effectuate their ethical or moral kinetic will. Absent those qualifying contingencies, there is a parallel, personal imperative of holistic consideration to be fulfilled, and that fulfillment helps nurture and promote conditions that any external public narrative is incapable of nurturing or promoting. This other tract interacts with what I'll call the mundane profane, relatively speaking, tract, as it incidentally happens, then as a conscious and consensual elective focus. In fact, the minimization of the importance of the mundane profane is the deconstruction of my past relations and relationships with the human and artifacts of that mundane profane tract. The rediscovering, if not a discovering, of your own stream of consciousness narrative logos as having the obligatory imperatives of your focus for nurturing and development becomes your cognitive obsession. Because the mundane profane tract has made a mega melodrama of the base logistical acquisition process to an erotic compulsion, to the degree of possession and control, it is an obstructive filtering discipline in the challenging trial of deconstructive estrangement by you to navigate the gauntlet of being based in the locale of the melodramas, but not being a participant in and of the melodramas. Until you reach that level of a deceased, cognitive bliss of vegetative dormancy, and that you exist more in the cognitive, virtual visceral dimensional states, existence will be in a duality of the temporally, carnal profane and the indefinite timelessness of the surreal sublime. Such carnal and physiological functions that presently mark your self-identification will be moot to the energy you feel and radiate, much like the ground of the earth is to a plant's root system. The process that gets you to that point will be an elucidating and affecting, butterfly effect revelation for those in the proximal range of the path of your radiated energy vibes, which they directly carnally sense or to which must react to its indirect, constructive consequences. Author's solicitation. Your donations of appreciation for this work may be done by making a payment via Facebook at /harpomonk or to this link at my PayPal account jonia_beativisn.com, paypal.me/J2E595. Jonia. Harp by any other name. Virus-free.